a nice early one today, and I think that's the only positive. We started at 5 p.m. UK because of the clocks changing here and not changing in the US. But it felt like the 49ers were the team that were half asleep. Um, don't really know what to say about that. It was a poor game from the off. Um, Everything went wrong, and everything continues to go wrong. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I said it after the Jags game. I said it after the Bucks game. You can blame injuries if you really want to, but sometimes it's just down to execution. At the end of the day, we started today's game with the same team that beat Atlanta last week, and we got blown up. And we were getting blown up long before D linemen started coming off the field. Okay, Bryce Huff was missing. Sorry, I'll correct myself on that one. There's a lot of chatter saying, "Oh, we're missing pass rushers. We can't get any pressure. Blah blah blah." Okay, fine, but I don't think it would have made that much difference. If you look at most of the Texans' big plays, they came off coverage bus. You know, Tatum Bethune inexplicably decided to chase C.J. Stroud, leaving a running back wide open for 50 yards in the flat. Wide open touchdown passes. Bear in mind the Texans are playing without most of the receivers, most of their NFL caliber receivers at any rate, and we got embarrassed today, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, yeah, you do have the injuries mount up. Jordan Elliott goes out, D Winters goes out, Samo goes out, Alfred Collins was out briefly. Yeah, I get it, I understand, but come on, this was an insipid, half asleep performance all the way around on defense. Robert Saleh, for all his qualities, occasionally will just have a game where he looks like he has no idea what to do, and today was one of those. And it wasn't all his fault, he's got players running into each other on key players. If you look at the one of the Texans' touchdowns, the second one, I think Upton Stout and Malik Mustafa run into each other and basically leave a guy wide open. Um, Stupid penalties, So we finally make a third down stop. Somebody gets called for a penalty. It's a first down. This is where we've been. But then it's also stuff like you don't get stops on third down. You constantly get them in third and medium or more and don't make a stop. You can't win games like that. And it doesn't matter who you have on the field in those situations. You've simply got to do a better job. People can say what they want about injuries, and they do suck. And perhaps this is the critical mass of injuries now. We literally, I think we've ended the game with less D linemen available than we actually need on the field to run our defense. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. But this team's got to get some reinforcements from somewhere. Whether it's, I actually would prioritize a defensive tackle over a defensive end at this point. We we can't stop the run a lot of the time. Callier Davis hasn't become the player he should have been. Jordan Elliott's a good player, but looks like he's hurt. CJ West is in the doghouse, seemingly. He was inactive today. Why? I don't know. Why we're making any D lineman active when we've barely got enough to fill the team, I honestly couldn't tell you. Um, Flip it to the other side of the ball. I mean, I have to admire the heart today. Mac Jones played his heart out. I don't think we can accuse anybody on the offensive lack of effort, but some of the old problems came back. Pass protection was awful, run blocking was awful. The interior offensive line is a shambles at the moment. You've got a seventh round rookie, Connor Colby. You've got a backup centre who played well briefly last week and then basically reverted to what he has been. I don't want to come across too Dennis Green, but sometimes they are what we thought they were. There's a reason these guys are career backups. And then at right guard you've got Dominic Pooney, who was, I don't know what's happened to Dominic Pooney. He was a fantastic player last year. He's been awful this year. Cotton McKivitz couldn't handle Will Anderson. I think we all knew that was going to be the case, though. I was expecting Shanahan to scheme around it. He didn't really. We stopped running the ball in the first half, which was about the only thing that was working. We We had pass plays that took way too long to develop. There's so many things that just... It felt very much like a typical 49ers 10 a.m. Pacific time kickoff. Whenever we kick off in the early window against a team from... Well, I don't suppose the East Coast is true in this case with Houston, but like whenever we play an early start game against, and Mac Jones has just gone down on my screen for the, I don't know, feels like the umpteenth time today. They deserve to win this game, the Texans. I don't think they were brilliant, but they were a mile better than we were. Yeah, I just think a really poor effort all round. We looked like we hadn't shown up for the game as early as the first quarter, and it pretty much continued that way. I'm pretty despondent. I've been pretty positive all season, and I have genuinely loved watching the journey of this young team at times. You know, the Rams game was tremendous. The Falcons game last week was a lot of fun. This isn't fun. And I don't know how it gets fun again at this point. They've got to find some reinforcements from somewhere, whether it's a trade or picking someone up who might be able to contribute, or even just trusting guys that we haven't seen in games. You know, Sebastian Gutierrez, defensive tackle, played well in the preseason. He sat on the practice squad all year. Is it time just to see what some of these people have got? You know, I don't think these guys have got fuck all, really, in some cases. We're trotting them out there, and they're doing the best. And look, I'm never going to criticise, unless they visibly don't try, I'm never going to criticise the 49ers play for lack of effort. That's not how football is, you know, that's not how it works. But, because nobody makes bad plays on purpose, nobody makes mistakes on purpose. But some of them just simply aren't good enough, and for whatever reason, they just didn't show up today. I believe it's the Giants next week. I guess we'll just have to regroup and go again. There isn't really a lot you can say. I mean, I know I've talked for what we on. We're nearly on the 7th minute now, is it, of this? And I know I've talked a lot, and I know I've said a lot, but like, there's only a certain amount of analysis you can do of a game like this. We were just awful, and the coaches have got questions to answer, I think. Because again, it's all right saying injuries, 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 and yeah, it sucks. We've got a terrible injury record. We've done nothing to address that either, by the way. I think that's important to point out. But like, you've still got to make the best of what you've got on the field, and there was enough there to beat the Texans today. They had receivers out. They had defensive players out. We did nothing. We did nothing to suggest we were ever going to win that game, and that isn't good enough. I don't care who you've got out. You've got to put in a better effort than that. Well, I'll be back next week and hopefully a bit more upbeat. I think the team's performance matches me, which is rather tired. I've had insomnia all week, and to be honest, that game was a bloody good cure, so I think I'm going to get some rest now. I'll see you all next week, and as ever, go Niners.